Ah yes, EVO, a fighting game tournament that's been around for over 20 years. And now, we're getting another one. An event so well known, the mayor of Las Vegas declared an official EVO day, even though EVO isn't going to be on its own official day. Thanks, Sony. We're less than a week away from EVO, and today I will speculate on what we might see at EVO this year. We're going to go over the major companies at this year's event, and maybe a few bonus predictions as well, if you're lucky. I think Capcom's announcement this year is going to be fairly easy to guess. Capcom only really has one major fighting game they're even focusing on at the moment, that being Street Fighter VI. As you're all aware, Season 2 of Street Fighter VI has 4 characters that have already been announced, that being M. Bison, who we already have, Terry Bogard, Mai Shiranui, and Elena. Henceforth, I believe we are going to see Terry Bogard's gameplay trailer at EVO. Not only that, I think we're going to see a Southtown stage to go with them. Heck, we might even get to see a little SNK Battle Pass thingy we've seen for the past characters. Heck, we might even get to see a little SNK Battle Pass. We've seen many of those in the past with the release of other characters such as M. Bison. However, if we see it at EVO, I'm not so sure of. Ah yes, SNK. The company I am most interested in seeing announcements from this year. Originally, I was going to make this video entirely on what I think we'll see this year. However, I thought it would be better just to do a video on this year's EVO, with us getting even more updates on City of the Wolves, and with KOF 15 potentially getting another season. We should have quite a bit to discuss. Quick side note, as I was writing the script for this video, I decided to look back at what SNK said on Twitter. And they had said special character development, not characters. So, I'm not sure if that means we're getting a whole new season, or just one character. Though I can't imagine SNK would just drop one character. And I mean, what else would they have to keep us busy between City of the Wolves? And I think leaving KOF 15 on only 2 seasons with Hanako as the last character might be a little disappointing, considering how good this game actually is. So I'm going to treat it as if we are getting a Season 3. Also, after writing this side note, apparently SNK will be having a dev panel on the 19th of this month, right before EVO. Now I'm personally excited to see what we've got in store for us this year. We're going to start with Season 3 of KOF 15, since it was announced on Twitter by SNK that we are going to get more characters. So who do I think we're going to see this year? Well, honestly, I have no idea, but I can make some educated guesses. Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a season similar to the last one, and I also think we're going to have a similar structure to both the ending season of Samurai Showdown, with its guest characters such as Baiken and the Warden and whoever else, and the previous season of KOF 15. What do I mean by that? Well, I think we're going to see at least one character from each KOF saga, like Season 2. And also have at least one free boss character, whom I will speculate on as well. Now, obviously, I think we're all thinking the same thing, which is we're going to see at least 1 or 2 Street Fighter characters this season, considering what happened in Street Fighter VI. And also the fact that SNK and Capcom have kind of been playing footsies under the table, with small hints and big hints of a future CVS game or SVC game, or at least an interest in the project. Now, who that might be, I have a few guesses. I think the most obvious would be Ryu. However, it's hard to say whether SNK would go with him since he's so simple, being kind of the poster boy of Street Fighter, but, you know, he's in every single crossover, so it's hard to say whether or not they would go with him. I personally would like to see Ryu and how he would play in KOF 15, but they have many iconic characters SNK could pull from the Street Fighter series. Now, I think a character that has just as good of a chance, if not more of a chance, is Luke Sullivan. Yes, the new protagonist, another interesting character with chargeable special moves that can change depending on how long you hold the button. With a tap, a full charge, and perfect variations of the move. Not to mention a Dragon Punch, as well as a command block that can go right under fireballs with a follow-up to it, and a Wild Fireball. He's got many different interesting options in a game like KOF 15. Now I think we've got a few other options for characters from the Street Fighter series to show up, specifically that have shown up in Street Fighter 6, since those are the ones Capcom is currently pushing. I think Akuma would be another fantastic choice. They could even make him a boss for this season, or just give him a boss fight. Another would be Chun-Li, or Jamie. Chun, of course, needs no introduction, being one of gaming's most famous characters, while Jamie could be another option, most likely as a second Street Fighter character, as opposed to a solo entry, being the Ken to Luke's Ryu. Now for the part you've all been waiting for. The proper KOF character predictions. Now honestly, it's hard to say whether or not SNK will have the first character be a crossover character or not, just because I think they would make the release of Street Fighter characters closer to the release of Terry Bogard in Street Fighter 6. And I'm going to give the Street Fighter characters 2 slots just to go with how Capcom put Fatal Fury characters in their game. But that's besides the point. You guys want to know who I think the characters are going to be. Now, I think at some point this season, we're going to have to see Shen Wu. I mean, there's no way we don't. Shen is one of the most requested characters to return to KOF, especially in 15, not to mention one of the most popular characters in the KOF series, making several appearances in the Tales of Ash Saga characters' endings. I think SNK has been teasing us about Shen for a while. I think it's time to add him. I'd say he's not only one of the most popular KOF characters, but also in my top 3 personal favorite KOF original characters, with either Saishu Kusanagi or Foxy right behind him. Shen's moveset is simple and easy to pick up. He's a hard-hitting character with some of the most fun-looking, fun-feeling moves in a fighting game. I think Shen is probably the most likely character out of any other KOF character to make it into this season, bias or no bias. I think we should talk about our next character, and I think we should go with a character we haven't seen in some time. It feels like it's been missing for a while, that being Takuma Sakazaki, aka Mr. Karate, aka Ryu and Yuri's dad. Yes, Takuma. Another character we've heard by name and seen in many other character endings. While I'm not 100% sure about Takuma being in this season, I think it's a safe bet nonetheless, since he was one of the original characters in KOF 94, not to mention one of SNK's first bosses in a fighting game, representing the older master characters similar to Gouken or Heihachi, though way before any of them appeared in a game. Mr. Karate himself is one of the characters right besides Geese and Rugal that has that infamous SNK boss syndrome about him. Now, he may look like another Shota, depending on which version of the character you're playing. Personally, I prefer the normal, non-Mr. Karate version of Takuma in KOF 13, with 2002 UM's EX version of Takuma being a close second. And yes, Papa Sakazaki, it seems, hasn't even had a 3D appearance in a KOF game, not counting the one mobile game where Takuma doesn't look like Takuma. I think 14 years has been long enough, SNK. Takuma hasn't been playable for over a decade, and I think this game also just has a serious lack of master characters, apart from maybe Geese or Heidern. Heidern probably being the most famous or only example in KOF 15 of a master character, with Geese not really having a disciple other than maybe Billy if you really stretch it. Takuma has quite a few interesting tools at his disposal, having an armored punch that can reflect projectiles, a counter that can do an instant overhead aerial chop. He has an invisible fireball, a normal fireball, and many other things. I think Akuma with a T could use a spot in his final season of KOF 15. Come on, SNK. I ain't asking for much. Fans ain't asking for much. Add our Master Shoto character, please. So around this time is when SNK would normally drop a boss character. So, assuming we're not getting Akuma as this season's boss, I'd naturally say we might either get a boss from the Nest Saga or one last Orochi Saga boss. However, SNK could just skip both of those and add Mukai. Now, I know Mukai is a bit of a stretch. However, he would be the most balanced boss out of the main non-sub bosses from the Ash Saga. I could easily see Xion as a boss though. Being a sub-boss, not a proper boss like the rest of the seasons, Xion has a more interesting moveset that focuses around stances. But I don't think they would add Xion just because of the fact that he is a stance character, which isn't really in this game that I can think of. Now let's look back for a minute at the Orochi Saga for a boss. Or should I say sub-boss? Yes, I'm referring to Saishu Kusanagi. Saishu hasn't been playable in a KOF game since KOF 98. Being the father of Kyo, I could easily see Saishu having many interactions with this game's cast, including Kyo, Shingo, his student, Iori, Chizuru, and even Hyden, since they were on a team. But let's talk about the most likely KOF series boss to make it into the final season. And I'm talking Crazelid, the clone of K-Dash, being the first boss of the Nest saga, being harder to balance probably than Saishu, but also more popular and with a more striking design, including lots of belts and straps. This early 2000s character has a high chance of being the final boss challenge in this game. Now, let's talk about our last character of KOF 15 Season 3. Now, SNK could do a few things. They could cross over with Tekken, because Tekken crossovered with Fatal Fury, technically. They could cross over with Guilty Gear, since Samurai Showdown had a Guilty Gear character. But I think what fans really want is a KOF original character that is super popular, or at least highly requested to come back. That being Adelheid Bernstein, yes. The son of Rugal Bernstein. I could see Adelheid getting an updated moveset, including new moves that he could have learned from Hyden, like a demon flip into crosscutter, similar to Leona's in KOF 98, or a similar touch grab that Hyden had in older KOF games. Even some new follow-ups inspired by other characters similar to Yuri's demon flip. In a poll for DLC characters requested by fans for KOF 15, Adelheid was number 6, with 4 of the top 10 making it into the game already. While Mei Lee Genju may be higher on the list than Adelheid, I don't think SNK would add a stance character as the final DLC character, especially when there aren't really any other stance characters in the game. I think I've taken up enough time talking about KOF. So we're going to move on to SNK's next big upcoming fighting game. That's right, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, a fighting game we've never expected to return, announced almost 2 years ago at this point. We've all been eager to see more information on City of the Wolves. But who is SNK going to show off this time around? I have some ideas as who they could show this year. I think we're going to see the rest of the characters from the previous 2 pieces of key art we saw during the other EVOs. Plus either a returning Garamark the Wolves character, an older Fatal Fury fan favorite, or a character from the original cancelled Garo 2. Andy Bogard. Ah yes, the Luigi of the Fatal Fury series. The brother of Terry Bogard, the master of Hokotomaru, and maybe now, the husband of Mai Shiranui? Maybe now, Mai Bogard? I think that might be a bit of a stretch though, I'm not sure. SNK doesn't seem to change their relationship throughout the fighting games, besides that one time in KOF 14 when they made them technically officially dating. However, that's besides the point. Andy also is one of the original 3 playable Fatal Fury characters, alongside our next character. You know what, I didn't write much here about Andy, but I'm going to go over a little bit about what I know. Andy is the brother of Terry Bogard. Though not from the same parents, they are technically both brothers by adoption of Jeff Bogard. Andy growing up on the streets with Terry, and Terry and Andy going separate ways after Jeff Bogard was killed by Geese Howard, going on different paths for training. Andy's story has always kind of been on the sidelines compared to Terry, being the kind of secondary protagonist to Terry, though nobody really cares about him. Kind of like how people see Luigi in Mario Brothers. I like Luigi, but, I'm not huge on Andy Bogard. But I'm interested to see where he goes story-wise. I'm honestly interested to see how his gameplay is going to be in City of the Wolves. I'm curious if they're going to give him a moveset similar to what he had in KOF 15, reusing assets, or if they're going to do something more original and give him some older stuff that he had from older games, but improve upon it, and kind of mix it together with all kind of the best hits. Kind of similar to what they're doing with Terry in this game, and kind of similar to what Street Fighter 6 did for its characters. I'm kind of interested to see if we're going to get some interesting stuff, like his one flaming kick, really big, close-ranged fireball. It's hard to say. Let's talk about our next character, Joe Higashi. the third and final playable character of Fatal Fury 1, now with an apprentice to match Terry and Andy. Joe sports a new design alongside Andy, though not too different from his common design. It's still somewhat different, even slightly. I know people will say things such as, "Oh, why should we have Joe if we already have Preacher?" And to that I say, have you seen Preacher's gameplay? They're so incredibly different. Joe is another character from the original Fatal Fury series. Again, I didn't write much about Joe here, because I've kind of been strapped for time, but I already kind of know how his story goes. He grew up in Japan, being from Japan, not Thailand, which is kind of surprising considering he practices Muay Thai and he's the Muay Thai champion, but that's besides the point. He punches the air so hard, he creates tornadoes. Joe, you could kind of compare to an Adon or a Sagat, having fireballs that cover a good amount of space. There's projectiles covering both mid-screen and low-screen, being pretty tall, all things considered, and having a really good super tornado that covers a huge portion of the screen. It's really good as an anti-air. Joe doesn't have much of a story in Fatal Fury, other than having a common plot of wanting to get with Billy Kahn's sister, Lily Kahn, which he kind of fails at. Maybe he's with her now in this game. Maybe time has passed and he can now have a proper relationship with the one lady he likes. But that's besides the point. Joe's story isn't super big, especially for being one of the 3 original Fatal Fury characters that was actually playable. But, he's still somewhat of a fun character. You can throw his fireballs out. I'm gonna have a little bit of a side note, because I don't personally care too much about Joe. I honestly would like to see Hua Jai come back in this game. He was an extremely fun character in KOF 13, and I think if SNK gave him an updated design, maybe with a coat, some more flowing, papery stuff around his legs and arms, I think he could be more interesting that way. Probably bring in more fans. I think if SNK had him play similarly to how he did in KOF 13, since City of the Wolves has a similar special to special cancel, like 13, I know he does play similarly to Joe. However, I feel like he embodies Muay Thai far more than Joe, who uses projectiles to keep more of a distance than Hua. Instead, Hua focuses more on using his body. I feel like he really encapsulates the feeling of Muay Thai and the embodiment of Muay Thai. I feel like focusing solely on using his body more so than projectiles and other things, as well as having a really fun gimmick where he drinks his wine, or dragon juice, as SNK kind of calls it, so they don't have to put an age rating. But, I think it's meant to be wine, since he gets all reddish pink. I think that if SNK gave him a second chance, really showed off his fun gameplay, I think that he'd be more fun. I think I could make a video on why Hua deserves a second chance. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. Let's talk about our next Kane R. Heinlein. Is one of my many characters I wanted to see make it back into KOF for the past few years, but now he's returning in City of the Wolves. I'm happy since now I have 2.5 of my mains from Garo in this game. What do I mean by that? Well, I used to play Grant, Kane, and Hotaru, but since Grant is dead and now his new student Vox Reaper is taking his place, I think I'm set on my day 1 City of the Wolves mains. Kane is the final boss of Garo Mark of the Wolves, and I think he really hasn't had any kind of time to shine, since he's only been in that one game and he was never used in anything else other than as a background character in KOF stages. But that's besides the point. After Kane tells Rock his mother is actually still alive in the ending of Garo Mark of the Wolves, now Rock Howard has kind of been forcefully taken under his wing and kind of forced to work for him so he can see his mother again. I'm honestly super interested to see how Kane will even play in this game, and if SNK will give him any new moves, since he really only had around 4 moves in Garo if you're already counting the... Kane really only had about 3 moves, maybe 4. Maybe I'm missing one, in the original Garo, special moves-wise. He was also a charged character, but I think SNK should give him a bit more to work with. I'm honestly super interested to see how Kane will play in this game, and if SNK will give him new moves. I think it would make a lot of sense for SNK to reveal him at EVO, since he hasn't been around in so long. Since he was in the key art, Billy Kane, or is it Khan? Alright, well, nonetheless, the right-hand man of the now deceased Geese Howard. Now, he may be working under Kane. We don't know yet, but again, considering that key art we saw, I think he'll be working for Kane, because Billy's kind of been lost. And honestly, bringing Billy back makes a lot of sense, and is also kind of surprising at the same time. In truth, I think this could be a major turn for Billy's story, as he's now kind of alone and out on his own, without Geese kind of being like his pillar of his character, and just being the right-hand man of Geese. I'm honestly curious as to how he's also going to play, similarly to Kane, where with the new rev system being able to cancel special move to special move, I'm interested to see how he plays. Hopefully we have some other mid-bosses from the Fatal Fury series show up. Lawrence Blood, anyone? Alright, so for the last character, I'm kind of stuck between 6 characters who it could be. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on why I think each of these 6 characters it could be, just because of the fact that each of them are popular and have been requested, or are just straight up popular from the last game. Now, who that might be, I have some ideas. 2 from Garo Mark of the Wolves, 1 from the cancelled Garo 2, and 3 from the original Fatal Fury games. That being Hokutomaru, Gato, Geki, Mai Shiranui, Duck King, and Rick Stroud. But I think we're only going to either see Hokutomaru or Mai. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on why I think each of them are going to happen other than Hokutomaru and Mai, but Gato, pretty popular. His sister's in this game, or potential sister, I should say. Geki is Gato's father, and if you're not familiar with what happened at the end of Garo Mark of the Wolves, Geki blinded Gato, and is also working under Kane. So I think him making it back, there's a high likelihood of that. The other character from cancelled Garo 2 might be that guy in the coat, but that one I'm not so sure of. Mai Shiranui, we'll get to her in a second. Duck King, also a character that's been super requested to come back. One of the most popular characters from Fatal Fury. I think he originally appeared in Fatal Fury 2. Rick Stroud, the character that got his moveset just ripped from him by Vanessa, which honestly kind of sucks. But now that Vanessa is out of the picture, since she's only a KOF character, we could have Rick back and have him have his moment in the sun here. But in Hokutomaru's case, he's Andy's apprentice. We heard him in the first gameplay teaser, whether or not you think it's him or not. He literally does say the line that he says in Garo. This is also taking place years after Garo Mark of the Wolves. So, I think it'd be somewhat interesting to see an older Hokutomaru, and I think it'd be kind of a shock to people. With Mai, we also heard her in that same trailer. I mean, come on. It's Mai. Do I need to say more? She's one of fighting game's most famous female characters. And I think it would be so easy just for SNK to drop her in here. But you know, I think that's exactly what they're gonna do. Just for the fan service reason. With the other Fatal Fury veterans and Gato, I think they're all fan favorite characters that people have been waiting to see for a long time. And in the case of Geki, if we're getting Gato and Hotaru, we're definitely getting their father, since it's part of their story arc that never got finished 25 years ago. I'm gonna be honest. I have zero idea of who or what the next Guilty Gear season is going to have in it. I don't play a lot of Guilty Gear. I played a little bit of XX. I played some XR, and I've now tried and played some Strive. But with 3 seasons in, now getting a 4th season, and honestly, you know, it's anyone's game right now. Because I think the most popular, so I don't really have a proper idea who it could be. Honestly, I'd like to see Dizzy. That's kind of all I want from Guilty Gear. But that's not what this video is about. I think Dizzy has a high chance of coming back. And I know the other fans want her too. Zaba, maybe? I don't know. We got Abba. Jam might also be a good one. But yeah, nothing. I've got really nothing here. But I do know that we're going to see at least someone. So it could be Zaba, it could be Dizzy, it could be Jam. It's kind of up in the air. Alright, I'll be honest. I don't really play Tekken. So, if I had to guess, Fakum Ram. We got Lydia. We don't have any Muay Thai characters. I think Namco is only going to show one character at EVO, considering they don't really completely show their deck of cards. So if I had to guess, they might also do a crossover character. Tifa Lockhart, anyone? So I've got a little bonus for you guys. Some games we might see announced, and some updates to a certain platform fighter. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we got an update on the recently announced Marvel Collection that got announced not too long ago at that Nintendo Direct. Probably some updates about some more features such as online mode and how hidden characters will work in ranked matches. Next, I'd like to talk about something that we could maybe see. I'm talking about a tiny chance of happening. That would be an SNK versus Capcom collection. With how rapid fire we've been getting these fighting game announcements lately, it wouldn't be too hard to believe after seeing the Street Fighter VI Terry Bogard trailer at EVO that we could see a CVS/SVC collection alongside it to promote. I, of course, could be way off, but I think the timing lines up way too perfectly. And the final game I'll be talking about is Multiverses, a game I have sort of mixed feelings about. That having a lack of any kind of ranked mode, I can't find too many characters that I'm really interested in, moveset wise. However, I'm not here to talk about my problems with the game. If you want to see that, I have a whole nother video where I talk about it. Anyways, who do I think we'll see at EVO for Multiverses even though it's not a game on the main stage? I think we'll most likely get a trailer for a character around the time of EVO. Since we just got a trailer for Agent Smith, I think we're going to see 2 more villain characters. Now, who do I think they are? I don't think there is really any way to kind of tell. Kind of like how Smash Bros. Is, where it could really be anyone. While there are leaks, not many of them are villains or even really cohesive to any sort of date. They're just kind of there. So I'd say the leaks aren't really reliable. So I'm not going to use them. Not that I would use them. In terms of villains, I think that have an actual impact. I'd say Sauron. I'd say Shang Tsung. I'd say Saruman. Or I think biggest of all, Dio Brando. I would love to see a JoJo's character in this game, and I think Dio would be actually perfect, as he's as insane, if not more insane, than the Joker. He's one of the most iconic characters in animated history, and Warner Bros. Owns at least a part in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think that this character would bring a lot of people to this game just to check out how Dio plays. But I've talked your guys' ear off long enough. Thank you to everyone for watching this video, and to everyone who stuck around long enough to even get to the end of this video. I appreciate the support. Tell me what you think we'll see at this year's EVO in the comments down below. And make sure to tell all your friends about me. Spread the word. I'm trying to grow this channel as much as possible, and I can only really do that with the help of you guys. Anyway, as always, I'll see you next time, and of course, bye-bye.